Think about the very first thing you did this morning. No, not the coffee, not the shower. I'm talking about that split second where your eyes cracked open and you realized you were back in the real world. In that moment, did you own your mind, or did your phone own you? Most of us wake up and immediately hand over our peace of mind to a glowing rectangle. We check the news, we see a text that stresses us out, or we scroll through someone else's highlight reel and suddenly we're starting our day in a hole we didn't even dig. You're already behind and the sun hasn't even fully come up yet. Here is the cold, hard truth that nobody wants to tell you. If you can't win the first 10 minutes of your day, you've already lost the next 16 hours. You're walking into the world like a soldier heading into a dogfight without a vest. We wonder why we feel anxious, why we can't focus, or why we feel like we're just spinning our wheels while everyone else seems to have their life together. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack talent. It's because you're letting the world dictate your mood instead of deciding it for yourself. The ancient Stoics had a word for this kind of person. They called them puppets, pulled by the strings of desire, fear, and the opinions of others. But they also left us a blueprint, a literal cheat code, on how to cut those strings before you even put your shoes on. We're talking about a level of mental toughness that makes a bad boss, a traffic jam, or a nasty comment feel like a mosquito bite. Imagine waking up and actually feeling like the CEO of your own life. Not the frantic, stressed-out kind, but the calm, calculated leader who knows exactly what needs to be done. Imagine moving through your morning with a sense of, I've got this, regardless of what the weather is like or what's waiting in your inbox. This isn't about some toxic productivity or waking up at 4:00 am to run a marathon. This is about a fundamental shift in how you process reality. The greats, the leaders, the warriors, the people who actually changed the world, they all knew that the morning is the most dangerous time of the day. It's when your inner roommate, that voice in your head that loves comfort and hates hard work, is at its loudest. That voice wants you to hit snooze. It wants you to stay under the warm covers because the world out there is too much. If you listen to that voice once, it gets easier to listen to it twice. Before you know it, you've spent your whole life on the sidelines. But what if you could silence that voice? What if you had a set of mental filters that caught all the junk, the stress, and the nonsense before it ever reached your heart? That's what we're building today. We aren't just looking at tips. We are installing a new operating system for your brain, one that was forged in the fire of ancient Rome, but is built for the chaos of the modern world. Think of your mind like a fortress. Every morning the gates are open. If you don't stand guard, anyone and anything can walk right in. An angry email? It's in the kitchen making a mess. A social media post you didn't like? It's in the living room trashing the place. By the time you get to work, your fortress is a disaster zone. We're going to learn how to be the bouncer at the door of your own mind. This isn't just philosophy. This is survival. In a world that is literally designed to distract you, being able to focus and stay calm is a superpower. If you're tired of feeling like a leaf blowing in the wind, it's time to become the mountain. The mountain doesn't care if it rains. The mountain doesn't care if the wind blows. It just stands there, solid, unshakable. That's where we're heading. And it all starts with the very first thought you allow into your head when the sun hits your face. The moment you decide to get out of bed, you're stepping onto a battlefield. Most people don't realize the war has already started. They think the real challenges are the meetings, the bills, or the difficult people they'll encounter later. But the biggest opponent you will ever face is looking back at you in the bathroom mirror. It's that version of you that wants to take the path of least resistance, the one that says just 5 more minutes or I'll start tomorrow. The Stoics had a specific way of looking at this. They didn't see the morning as a chore, they saw it as a training ground. Think of it like a professional athlete warming up before the championship game. You wouldn't just walk onto the field cold, right? You'd stretch, you'd focus, you'd visualize the win. Yet, we walk into the championship game of our lives every single day, completely cold, mentally stiff, and emotionally vulnerable. There's an old concept called the premeditation of evils. Now, don't let the name scare you off. It's not about being a pessimist or expecting the worst. It's actually the ultimate anxiety killer. While everyone else is walking around hoping for a perfect day, and then falling apart the second something goes wrong, you're going to be the person who saw it coming. Imagine you're playing a video game. If you know exactly where the traps are and where the enemies are hiding, the level becomes easy. You move through it with total confidence. That's what this Stoic practice does for your real life. Before you even leave your house, you take 30 seconds to acknowledge the truth. Today, you will probably deal with someone who is rude. You'll probably deal with someone who is ungrateful, or a technology glitch, or a plan that falls apart. By expecting these things, you strip them of their power to hurt you. When that person cuts you off in traffic or your boss snaps at you, you don't get angry. You don't let it ruin your lunch. Instead, you think, there it is. I was expecting you. You remain the calmest person in the room because you've already dealt with this situation in your head 3 hours ago. You're playing the game on easy mode while everyone else is struggling on hard. This is how you stop being a victim of your circumstances. Most people are like a thermostat. They just reflect the temperature of the room. If the room is angry, they get angry. If the room is stressed, they get stressed. But you're going to be the air conditioner. You set the temperature. No matter how much heat the world throws at you, you stay cool. You stay at the level you chose for yourself this morning. Think about the sheer amount of energy we waste being shocked by things that happen every single day. We act surprised when there's traffic. We act surprised when people are selfish. We act surprised when things break. That surprise is what causes the stress. The Stoic morning routine replaces that shock with readiness. It's the difference between being punched when you aren't looking and blocking a punch you saw coming a mile away. But here's the secret sauce. This isn't just about avoiding the bad stuff. It's about making room for the good stuff. When you aren't constantly putting out fires in your own mind, you suddenly have all this extra mental room available. You can actually focus on your goals. You can actually be present with the people you love. You stop surviving your day and you start commanding it. You've probably heard people talk about protecting your peace. It sounds nice on a postcard, but how do you actually do it when life is coming at you fast? You do it by realizing that your opinion is the only thing that can actually hurt you. A flat tire isn't bad. It's just a flat tire. Your judgment that this is a disaster and my day is ruined is what actually makes you miserable. The tire is just rubber and air. Your mind is what turns it into a tragedy. This morning, we are deciding that nothing outside of our own character has the power to tilt our axis. Think about a time you were really, really thirsty, like middle of the desert, mouth as dry as sandpaper thirsty. In that moment, a single glass of cold water feels like $1 million. But on a normal Tuesday, you barely even notice the water is there. You might even complain it isn't cold enough. This is the comfort trap, and it's the silent killer of modern discipline. The Stoics knew that if you get too used to being comfortable, you become fragile. You become like a house built out of glass. It looks great until a single pebble hits it. To have a bulletproof morning, you have to intentionally invite a little bit of discomfort into your life before the world forces it on you. In the US, we call this embracing the suck. Now, I'm not saying you need to go sleep on a bed of nails. It's much simpler than that. It's the cold shower. It's leaving the cream and sugar out of your coffee. It's choosing to walk when you could drive. Why? Because every time you say no to a tiny comfort, you're doing a bicep curl for your willpower. You're telling that inner roommate who wants the easy way out to sit down and shut up. When you voluntarily step into a cold shower, your brain screams at you. It tells you you're crazy. It tells you to turn the handle back to red. But when you stay there, when you breathe through the shock, you're proving something vital. You are the boss of your body, not the other way around. If you can handle 30 seconds of freezing water, that annoying email from your boss at 10 am isn't going to break you. You've already conquered the hardest part of your day by choice. Most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid even the slightest bit of friction. They want the fastest internet, the softest bed, the easiest job. But guess what? That makes them weak. It makes them dependent. The second the Wi-Fi goes down or the car won't start, their entire world collapses. They don't have any mental calluses. By practicing a little bit of voluntary hardship every morning, you're building those calluses. You're becoming the kind of person who can thrive anywhere. Whether you're at a 5-star hotel or stuck in an airport terminal, your happiness stays the same, because it isn't tied to your thread count. You're learning that you don't actually need all the extra stuff to be okay. This leads us to a massive realization: most of our problems are actually just preferences. You prefer it to be sunny, but if it rains, that's not a problem. It's just weather. You prefer people to be nice, but if they aren't, that's just their character, not yours. When you stop needing everything to be just right to feel good, you become dangerous. You become unstoppable, because there's nothing the world can take away from you that would actually destroy your peace. We live in a culture that tells us more is better, more comfort, more stuff, more shortcuts. Stoicism tells us that less is freedom. If you can be happy with a simple breakfast and a focused mind, you have more wealth than a billionaire who is terrified of losing his private jet. This morning, we are reclaiming our freedom. We are choosing the hard path now, so that the rest of our life feels easy. Think of it like training for a marathon with a weighted vest. When the actual race starts and you take that vest off, you feel like you're flying. That's what a Stoic morning feels like. You take on the weight of discipline early, so when you step out the door into the real world, you feel light, fast, and completely in control, while everyone else is gasping for air. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to have a magnetic field around them? No matter how much chaos is blowing up in the office, or how loud the world gets, they just move through it like they're underwater, calm, steady, and totally untouchable. Most people think that's a personality trait. They think you're either born chill or you're a nervous wreck. But that's a lie. That calmness is a muscle, and the Stoics had a specific exercise to build it every single morning before they even spoke to another human being. They called it the circle of control. If you want to talk about a life-changing mental hack, this is it. Imagine drawing a small circle around your feet. Inside that circle is everything you actually own: your thoughts, your intentions, and your actions. That's it. That's your entire kingdom. Everything else, what your ex thinks of you, the economy, the weather, the traffic, the fact that your flight just got cancelled, is outside that circle. The average person spends 90% of their emotional energy screaming at things outside their circle. We get mad at the red light. We get depressed because of a headline. We get anxious because of a vibe we got from a coworker. Think about how much power you're giving away. You're basically handing a remote control to the rest of the world and saying, "Here, you decide if I'm happy today." A Stoic wakes up and does a quick inventory. They look at the big scary problem looming over their day, and they ask one simple question: is this up to me? If the answer is no, they drop it. They don't just try to ignore it, they treat it like it doesn't even exist. Because why would you set your house on fire because it's raining outside? It makes zero sense, but we do it every single day. This is where the real USA-style grit comes in. We're taught to be hustlers and go-getters, but a real go-getter knows where to put their fuel. If you're trying to push a brick wall, you aren't a hard worker, you're just wasting time. A Stoic stops pushing the wall and starts looking for the door. The door is always inside your circle. You can't control the economy, but you can control your skills. You can't control the insult, but you can control your reaction. When you start your morning by narrowing your focus to only what you can control, a massive weight lifts off your shoulders. It's like clearing 100 open tabs on a lagging computer. Suddenly, your brain starts running fast again. You have clarity. You have juice. You realize that most of the things you were stressed about aren't actually your job to fix. Your only job is to be the best version of yourself in this exact moment. This shifts your entire vibe from reactive to active. Instead of waiting to see what the day does to you, you decide what you're going to do to the day. You become a creator instead of a consumer. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What am I going to do about it?" That's the difference between a victim and a victor. It sounds simple, right? But try it for just 10 minutes tomorrow. Every time a stressful thought pops up, visualize that circle. Ask, "Is this in my circle?" If it's a no, give yourself permission to let it go. You'll feel a physical lightness in your chest. You're reclaiming your territory. You're building a fortress that no one can enter without your permission. But there's a deeper level to this. Once you stop worrying about the outside, you realize you have a lot of work to do on the inside. Most of us use external drama as an excuse to avoid looking at our own flaws. I'd be disciplined if my job wasn't so stressful, or I'd be happy if I had more money. No, that's the puppet talking. A Stoic says, "Even in a prison cell, I can be a king of my own mind." Think about the last time you felt like you were just going through the motions. You're brushing your teeth, but your brain is already at the office. You're eating breakfast, but you're actually replaying an argument from 3 years ago. You're physically in the room, but mentally, you're 1,000 miles away. The Stoics had a brutal wake-up call for this. They called it being half dead. They believed that if you aren't present in the now, you're essentially skipping your own life. There's a massive trap we all fall into in the US. We're obsessed with the next thing. We think, "I'll be happy when I get the promotion," or "I'll start living when it's the weekend." But the next thing is a ghost. It doesn't exist. The only thing that is real, the only thing you can actually touch, taste, or change, is this exact heartbeat, this exact breath. Right now. Marcus Aurelius, the guy who basically ran the known world, used to tell himself every morning, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Now that sounds dark, right? In our culture, we avoid talking about the end of the road. We act like we're going to live forever. But the Stoics used memento mori, the reminder of death, not to get depressed, but to get energized. When you realize that your time is a non-renewable resource, you stop spending it on garbage. You stop getting offended by people who don't matter. You stop doom scrolling. You start looking at your morning coffee, the sunlight hitting the floor, or the person sitting across from you with a sense of, wow, I'm actually here for this. Imagine you were given a bank account every morning with $86,400 in it, but at the end of the night, whatever you didn't spend just disappeared. You'd be the most careful spender on the planet. Well, you get 86,400 seconds every single day. Most of us just throw them in the trash. We kill time. But time is the only thing you can't earn back. You can lose all your money and make it back. You can lose your job and find another one. But you will never, ever get this Tuesday morning back. This realization should hit you like a bucket of ice water. It should make you sit up a little straighter. If today was your last day on Earth, would you spend the first hour of it complaining? Would you spend it worrying about someone's like on a photo? Of course not. You'd be focused. You'd be kind. You'd be incredibly intentional. The Stoic morning routine is about bringing that last day intensity into every day, not in a panicked way, but in a way that gives you tunnel vision for what actually matters. It's about stripping away the fluff. We spend so much of our lives stressed out about things that literally won't matter in 5 years, or even 5 days. Why? Because we forget that we're mortal. When you start your day by acknowledging that your time is limited, you gain a superpower, the power of no. You say no to the distractions. You say no to the drama. You say no to the inner roommate who wants you to waste your potential. You realize that your attention is your most valuable asset, and you start guarding it like a hawk. This isn't about being morbid. It's about being awake. Most people are sleepwalking through their lives, waiting for some big moment to start being happy. A Stoic knows that the big moment is right here. It's the act of waking up. It's the act of choosing your character. It's the act of doing your work with excellence, even if nobody is watching. So, as you're getting ready to head out into the world, ask yourself, if I knew this was the final chapter of my story, how would I play this scene? Suddenly, the boring parts of your day become meaningful. The hard parts become a challenge you're proud to meet. You stop waiting for life to start, and you realize that it's already happening. Think about the last time you saw someone lose their cool. Maybe it was a guy screaming at a barista because his latte was lukewarm, or someone losing their mind in a Twitter thread over a total stranger's opinion. When you see that, you don't think, wow, that person is powerful. You think, wow, that person is weak. They've lost the remote control to their own emotions. They are being played by the world like a cheap fiddle. The Stoics had a secret weapon for this, and it's something you need to hardwire into your brain every single morning. They called it the view from above. Imagine, as you're sitting there with your morning coffee, that you're slowly zooming out, like a drone taking off from your backyard. First, you see your house, then your neighborhood, then your entire city. Keep going until the cars look like ants and the skyscrapers look like toys. Zoom out until the earth is just a tiny blue marble hanging in the middle of nowhere. From up there, how big is that crisis you're worried about? How important is that snarky comment from your coworker? How massive is that bill you're stressed over? In the grand scheme of the universe, our biggest problems are microscopic. We spend our lives focused on the dirt under our fingernails while we're standing on a planet spinning through a galaxy we can barely understand. This isn't about making your life feel small or meaningless. It's about perspective. Most of our stress comes from enlarging things. We take a small inconvenience and we blow it up until it fills our entire field of vision. It becomes all we can see. The view from above shrinks it back down to its actual size. It gives you the room to breathe. When you start your day with this perspective, you develop what the Romans called equanimity. It's a fancy word for being unshakable. It means that when the chaos of the day hits, when the project fails, when the kids are screaming, when the stock market dips, you can look at it from that high-altitude perspective. You realize that this too shall pass. In the US, we're told to be the main character. And that's fine, but every main character needs a sense of scale. If you think the universe revolves around your morning commute, you're going to be miserable. If you realize you're just one soul among billions, trying your best to navigate a complex world, you suddenly find a lot more room for empathy. Not just for others, but for yourself. You stop demanding that the world be perfect. You stop expecting everyone to be on their best behavior. You realize that people are messy, life is unpredictable, and things break. And that's okay. Because from the view from above, it's all just part of the dance. You're not a victim of the chaos. You're an observer of it. This mental exercise creates a buffer zone between you and your triggers. Usually, something happens and we react instantly. Trigger, reaction. There's no space in between. But with this Stoic perspective, you create a gap. Something happens, you zoom out, you evaluate it, and then you choose how to respond. That gap is where your freedom lives. As you prepare to step out into the world today, carry that drone view with you. When things get loud, zoom out. When people get mean, zoom out. Remind yourself that you are part of something vast and ancient. You aren't just a person trying to get through a Tuesday. You're a part of the nature of the universe. And the universe doesn't panic. By the time you get to your desk or your job site, you'll notice a shift. People will wonder why you aren't joined in the collective freakout. They'll notice that you're focused on the big picture while everyone else is tripping over the pebbles. That's the power of the view from above. It makes you the adult in the room. So, you've guarded your gates, you've embraced the cold, you've drawn your circle of control, and you've looked at the world from the stars. Now comes the most important part, the part where the rubber actually meets the road. It's one thing to be a philosopher in the quiet of your room with a journal and a cup of tea. It's another thing entirely to be a Stoic when someone is screaming in your face, when your bank account is looking thin, or when you're exhausted and the day is only halfway through. The Stoics didn't care about what you said you believed. They cared about what you did. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." In modern terms, stop talking about your vibes or your goals or your mindset and just go do the work. The morning routine isn't a trophy you win, it's the fuel you put in the tank so you can drive the car. If you've followed these steps, you've essentially built a suit of armor for your soul. But armor is heavy. It requires strength to wear. That strength comes from duty. In the US, we often think of duty as something boring or restrictive. But to a Stoic, duty is the highest form of freedom. It's the realization that you have a job to do on this planet. You aren't here to just consume, scroll, and exist. You're here to contribute. You're here to be a pillar for the people around you. When you approach your day as a mission, everything changes. You don't ask, "How can I get through this?" You ask, "How can I be useful here?" When you focus on your duty, to your family, to your work, to your own potential, your personal problems start to feel very small. It's hard to be anxious about a bad hair day when you're focused on being the most reliable person in the building. This is the final piece of the puzzle: action. You can have the best morning routine in the world, but if you don't use that clarity to actually move the needle, you're just a well-rested dreamer. A Stoic morning ends with a launch. You've prepared your mind, you've steeled your will, and now you step out into the world, ready to face whatever it throws at you with a smile. Not a fake, everything is perfect smile, but the grin of a person who knows they can handle the storm. Remember, you're going to mess up. You're going to get angry. You're going to forget your circle of control and yell at a red light. That's okay. Stoicism isn't about being a robot. It's about being a human who keeps getting back up. When you stumble, don't beat yourself up. Just zoom out. Realize it was a tiny moment in a vast life and get back to your duty. You have everything you need right now to make today different. You don't need a new hack, a new app, or more motivation. You just need the discipline to choose your mind over your comfort. You've got the blueprint. Now, go build something worth living in. The world is waiting for the version of you that is unshakable, the version of you that doesn't complain, doesn't blame, and doesn't quit. That person is currently buried under a few layers of bad habits and snooze buttons, but they're still in there. It's time to let them out. It's time to win the morning so you can win the life. If this resonated with you, if you're ready to stop letting the world pull your strings and start owning your own mind, do me a favor, join the tribe. Like this video, share it with someone who's struggling to find their footing, and subscribe to Stoic Origin. We're here to help you forge a mind that nothing can break. Now, take one deep breath. Recognize your power. And go handle your business. I'll see you at the top.